In this video, we will explore an aspect of a certain family of deponent verbs. This aspect is that some deponent verbs govern the ablative case. Let's first briefly review the ideas about deponent verbs. Deponent verbs are verbs that have literally put down their active forms. This comes from the Latin verb deponere, which means to put down. Deponent verbs are passive in form, but active in meaning. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, there is a family of deponent verbs that govern the ablative case. And we can remember these 5 verbs with the acronym PUF-V. The 5 verbs are potior, potiri, to acquire, utor, uti, to use, fungor, fungi, to perform, fruor, frui, to enjoy, and weskor, weski, to eat. Okay, so let's set the scene for a second. You're used to seeing sentences in Latin that have a verb and an accusative direct object. For example, multam pecuniam habemus, where habemus is the main verb and pecuniam is the accusative direct object. And we translate this as, we have much money. Now, when I said a moment ago that this family of deponent verbs governs the ablative case, I mean that these verbs do not take accusative direct objects, and instead they take a noun in the ablative case. Let me show you what I mean by this. Here is an example. Pecunia multa potimor. So our main verb is potimor, and pecunia is our ablative word that is being governed by potimor. Now, you might recall that potimor comes from the verb potior potiri, which means to acquire. And so we translate this sentence as, we acquire much money. Notice how English makes the money sound like a direct object. But this particular verb in Latin uses the ablative case to construe this idea. We acquire much money. Okay, here's a second example. In bello armis milites semper utuntur. Our main verb is utuntur, which you'll recognize from the verb utor uti, which means to use. Milites is the nominative plural subject of utuntur. In bello is an ablative prepositional phrase, and armis is the ablative word that is being governed by utuntur. And so we'll translate this as, the soldiers, milites, always use semper utuntur, weapons, armis, in war, in bello. And so again, even though the word weapons sounds like a direct object in English, this particular verb, utor uti, uses the ablative case to express this idea. Okay, and one final example. Omnibus quibus vesci cupimus. Our main verb is cupimus. Vesci is the present tense infinitive of the word veskor vesci, which means to eat. And quibus is the ablative noun that is governed by the deponent verb vesci. And so we translate this as, we want to eat vesci cupimus, all the food, omnibus quibus. So here again we see how these deponent verbs, potior, utor, fungor, fruor, and veskor, govern a noun in the ablative case, rather than taking an accusative direct object.